For the first time all season long, our full weekend preview of Big Ten basketball is just that, a full weekend preview. All 14 Big Ten teams in action this weekend, 7 games over the course of 3 days, and we are now just 30 days away from Selection Sunday. The fullest of all the full Big Ten weekend previews starts right now on the Locked On Big Ten podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Locked On Big Ten podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Ben Stevens. It is Friday, February 12th. That's the date. Sometimes when you're doing things all over the place, you're so excited for March Madness, you forget the date, but we know it. It is Friday, February 12th, and the man you see there swiveling in his chair because he's a little bit scared that Selection Sunday is about a month away right now. As one of the hosts of Locked On Spartans, it is Matt Sheehan. How lucky am I to start my week on this show with your co-host, Will Hunter, and to end it on the bookend with you, Matt Sheehan, on this Friday for our full weekend preview of Big Ten basketball. 7 games over the course of 3 days. The top team in the Big Ten Conference is back, and your Michigan State Spartans are in action. Maybe that's exciting. No? Yes? Maybe?
No. I mean, yeah, listen, I love my Spartans for sure, but, they're also the thing that's killing me this year, slowly. Every game shaves another 2 years off my life, so at this point, I think I'm set to expire at the age of 51, I think. Yeah, but hey, I guess I gave it a good run. I saw a few good things here and there in East Lansing. But yeah, man, dude, when I heard you say 30 days till Selection Sunday, my head just went right back in the chair. I'm scared, Ben, just like you said. There's no reason to lie about it, no reason to act macho and confident. No, I'm a scared little child about the rest of the season. But hey, I'm excited for this episode, though.
Before we get to our picks and predictions for the weekend, we will do the 7 games. We will give you where we see the winners for this weekend across all of the games that we have in the Big Ten Conference this weekend. I have to ask you, 30 days until Selection Sunday, Michigan State has a 22-year NCAA tournament bid streak. Do you think that continues in about a month from now?
No, I don't. I'm sorry, fellow Spartan fans out there. I would love to sit here and lie to you and say that everything is all great, but no, I don't. MSU's got 7 games left. They got 4 really tough games against Iowa, Illinois, Michigan, and Ohio State. They have 3 games that they absolutely need to sweep against Purdue, Indiana, and Maryland. Listen, if they were losing some of these games early on in the season by close margins, maybe. Yeah, the Purdue game was close. Also blew a 20-point lead there. And the other games that you lost, yeah, you lost those by 20 as well. So, no, they're either getting blown out or giving away colossal leads. And to say that I'm confident at the end of the season, Ben, I'm not at all. Go green, though. Go green till I die. Well,
Go green.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Locked On Spartans podcast, a.k.a. Locked On Sadness, as your co-host, Will Hunter, told me on Monday, we're rolling now. But Michigan State will be in action this weekend. They visit Iowa on Saturday. That will be one of our picks for the weekend. We have 7 games, so what we're going to do here on this weekend preview is break down all 7 of them. We will start with our Big Ten game of the week. That features the top team in the Big Ten Conference, the Michigan Wolverines. Sorry, Matt Sheehan. They are back in action this weekend. They visit Wisconsin, on Sunday afternoon. Then Matt and I will give you 3 picks each in our 3 categories: our Locked On Lock, our Underdog Special, and a creative third category of our choosing. And if you don't know by now and you haven't been following along with the Locked On Big Ten podcast, for our weekend previews, what we do, because basketball lines don't normally come out until about 24 hours prior to tip, we use the smartest man's mind in all of college basketball. That is Ken Pomeroy. We take his predictions for the game. We give you the KP variance. He's generally within a point or point and a half average of where the final line ends up in Vegas. And we talk about who will win this weekend and why. So let's begin our picks and predictions for this full weekend preview of Big Ten basketball with the Big Ten game of the week. That is 3rd-ranked Michigan on the road in the Kohl Center in Madison, Wisconsin against 21st-ranked Wisconsin. As Ken Pom sees it, Michigan's first game back, but still a 1-point favorite on the road on Sunday in Madison. The over-under total, 133. Matt Sheehan, how do you see this game playing out in Michigan's return to Big Ten competition?
You know what? It's been a pretty miserable year for State fans, so why would it get any better? Why wouldn't we see Michigan just absolutely roll the Badgers out of their own building? That's probably what's going to happen. No, listen, they've obviously had this long break with COVID, and they've also had some time to practice before getting back in action as well. Wisconsin, very underwhelming this year. Listen, hey, they're having a fine season, but I thought they would be tops of the Big Ten. But yeah, man, Michigan, listen, they're a wagon. They're rolling. I don't watch them, but like I see the scores. I look at the scores and I'm like, holy smokes, was the spread like 29? Because I think even that covered. Yeah, man. So I'm just gonna assume that Michigan wins this one by like 14 again, and more sadness enters my life as I just scroll on my app and see another Michigan victory.
How many Michigan games have you watched this year in college basketball? Any?
Hand to God, zero. I really haven't. I mean, why would I compound sadness interest on top of watching MSU lose every other game seemingly? Like, I'll watch Michigan once a year, twice a year if they play MSU twice. That's pretty much my fill of Wolverine basketball. I feel like this year that's actually a healthy way to look at it. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. That brings me so much joy. That's what the
I'm
Big Ten
happy
is
to
about.
yeah.
When you have fandoms that run that deep. They are scheduled to play, both Michigan and Michigan State, the final day of the regular season, Sunday, March 7th. And there has been some speculation because Michigan has some games to reschedule. We might get a back-to-back on that final weekend of the Big Ten regular season. Would that bring delight to the Sheehan household?
Delight. No, that'd bring a lot of alcohol into the house. I'll tell you what it would bring in. Delight is not one of the things it would bring in. Despair is a D word you could use. Desperation. Yeah, no, delight. I think I'd stay away from that word. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How is the Sheehan family when it comes to Michigan State? How is everybody feeling? Is your wife a big fan? Is she watching these games with you or no?
She's a fan by marriage and just a fan because she's a great, loving wife. She supports MSU because I support them. And yeah, sometimes she'll look at the 3-month-old baby boy and be like, why is your dad acting like this? And like, he'll be looking up at mom, like from the floor on his toilet being like, what? And like, should we call someone mom? Like this is, so it's as bad as you can imagine here, Ben. Usually I am a pretty cool customer during games, but not this year. Not this. I'm letting it all come out this year. It's like someone shook up a bottle for the last 22 years and finally opened it, and it's just going to explode everywhere. Because I'm a big ball of emotion that can't handle my college basketball team being bad like an adult will. Well, you're not Will. You're Ben. I'm sorry, Ben.
I thought you were saying like your college basketball team will, which means future losses for Michigan State. I didn't mean to rub that in, but regardless, that's where we stand right now.
That's fine.
As we focus on the Big Ten game of the week, third-ranked Michigan on the road visiting 21st-ranked Wisconsin. This is Michigan's first game back in Big Ten action in over 3 weeks. Of course, they had the entire athletic department on pause due to a COVID-19 variant strain that was found on campus in Ann Arbor. But to our knowledge, at least through sources and reports, it didn't actually affect the basketball team. In fact, the basketball program on the men's side hasn't had a positive test since they got back to campus in summer back in August. So we should expect that nobody will be held out due to the COVID-19 protocols in place in the Big Ten Conference. But how healthy and how productive will they be after pretty much just being in their dorm room trying to do virtual meetings and some push-ups and stuff right there? They haven't had a lot of practice time. They get back on the floor. You can say what you want about the game on Thursday that should have been played against Illinois and Michigan, saying, hey, we need a couple more days to get our sea legs. We'll see how that takes effect.
Nice. Must be really nice.
I mean, everybody else has been right back into the fold. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a Michigan State guy by nature.
But 15-0 run to Rutgers in their first game back after 2 minutes of practice. But I digress. Who am I to complain? I mean, they still lost that game by 40,000 points, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, right.
I just like complaining.
So Michigan, the third-ranked team in the country, also third in Ken Palm's efficiency rankings. They are one of 3 teams in the country that rank top 10 in both offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency. Only Gonzaga and Baylor are the teams ahead of Michigan that rank in those categories. Michigan is also third in the Big Ten Conference in scoring. They've scored 70 or more points in all but 2 games. It's hard for me to really hype up Michigan here and just see your reactions, but I'm just going to keep going for a little bit more as we talk the Big Ten game of the week. The Wolverines second in defense in the conference. The only team that is better than them in that category is the team they are playing on Sunday in the Wisconsin Badgers. The Badgers allow their opponents to score about 62 points per game, Michigan 65 points per game. So with Michigan's first game back in over 3 weeks, and this being a slower paced, maybe not as high scoring in the first half, if you can find a first half under that you like out there, I would side with that while Michigan gets back into the flow of thing and get back into action. But I do think in the final 20 minutes, the team we have seen throughout the course of this Big Ten basketball season will start to take hold for Juwan Howard, because Wisconsin hasn't exactly impressed me lately, and they haven't inspired a lot of confidence. They got a shaky win on Wednesday night against Nebraska. And yes, they won by 13, but Nebraska coming off a COVID pause of their own. And the Huskers haven't won a game in Big Ten play since January of 2020. So if you only beat them by 13 and you don't look necessarily very good in doing so, the Badgers haven't really excited me much. They've gone 3-3 in their last 6 games of Big Ten competition. They also have one of the more peculiar stats, and I think a lot of people would look at it and say, oh, that's great balance from this Wisconsin team. They've had 7 players be their leading scorer in 7 of their 8 last games. 7 different guys have been their leading scorer. And on Wednesday night against Nebraska, they had 8 guys getting into the scoring column, but they only had 1 guy scoring double digits, and that was their freshman, Johnny Davis. So you would think, oh, great balance across the board. To me, that shows a little bit of inconsistency. We have seen that from Wisconsin so far in this recent stretch of Big Ten action. So I like Michigan, even though the fact that they've been off for 3 weeks. I like Michigan to win this game in the Kohl Center on Sunday afternoon. I don't really know how I feel about the over-under total. I don't really want to touch it. I don't really want to sweat an under of a 133. So I'm just going to say Michigan wins. Take the money line if you see some value right there. I guess they are the favorite according to Ken Palm. I think it will be right around 1 by the time we get to Sunday afternoon. I like Michigan to win and get right back to where they were before the COVID pause in Big Ten play.
Yeah, I don't like Michigan to win, but I'm going to pick them. Like that's what I'm going to go with. But yeah, man, I don't have the stomach to sit there and pick the under of a 133-point game. Like honestly, it probably will end up at like 121 points, but like there's no fun in that. Just watching just 2 teams just try to barely crack 60 points each. Like,
right.
I'm going to stay away from that one.
Because Ken Palm has the prediction right now. Michigan 67, Wisconsin 66. I think it's going to be right around there. I don't think Michigan wins by more than 5 or 6 points, but I'm not going to sit there when it's 65-61 with a minute and a half left and Wisconsin starts fouling to try to extend the game and want any part of that over-under total. I don't want any part of it.
No,
so
no fun.
We're not going to do that on Sunday. We're not going to spend our first Sunday with no football sweating out an over-under total in Big Ten basketball. That is not what we will do. So our Big Ten game of the week, 3rd-ranked Michigan returning to Big Ten action. They go on the road to face 21st-ranked Wisconsin. Both Matt and I are picking Michigan. I like Michigan to win. Matt is picking Michigan because he's picking Michigan, and we'll leave it at that. So our next category up, the Locked On Locks for this weekend. Matt Sheehan, where do you see your Locked On Lock, the game you are most confident in for this weekend of Big Ten basketball?
Listen, I've seen Indiana screw around. Almost swore there. Screw around and dilly-dally themselves to 4 close games in a row. They can't possibly do that for a 5th time in a row, right? Especially with Ohio State rolling like they are. So OSU -6 is probably it's going to be somewhere around that line. I like OSU in like a 12-14 point thumping here for the Buckeyes. Like, and really, if my logic sounds like I'm saying it's because Indiana can't play close 5 games in a row, that's exactly the logic I'm using. So,
I like it. I mean, Ohio State, the hottest team in the Big Ten Conference, possibly all of college basketball.
I know.
They've won 5 straight. They've won 8 of their last 9. They have 9 wins against quad 1 opponents. That is the most in all of college basketball. Nobody has even more than 7. This is not what I expected from Ohio State this year, frankly. I didn't think this group would come together in the way that Chris Holtmann had assembled everybody. But Ohio State's a team that's like, I think you're going to keep doubting them into the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8, and you'll be like, they can't keep doing this, right? Like, they're not going to get to the Elite 8. They're not going to get to the Final Four. And then by the time all is said and done, they might be there playing against the likes of Gonzaga or Baylor by the time we get to early April.
I mean, their shooting's rolling right now, man. Like, Dwayne Washington is a kid that was in Michigan for a hot second before going to California for prep school. And, like, that's like, hey, should have Izzo recruited him a little harder? And that's not to say, like, Izzo would have automatically got him, but just even a little harder. It's like, I think we can use a guy that's seemingly shooting 85% from 3 this season on this team. Yeah, so, I mean, he's just one of the kids that are making it rain for Ohio State right now. So, Chris Holtmann, great coach, got the team rolling. Sucks to see, because they're a sleeping giant in the Big Ten, but hey, good for them.
Yeah, I like your perspective to the teams in the Big Ten, right? It's not the year for Michigan State that you probably expected, but you can recognize that people are playing well. You don't have to be happy about it.
Oh, I'm miserable about
recognition.
It. Yeah, this sucks. Yeah, this is all bad. Yeah, this is a miserable year, but hey, you know what? I'll acknowledge and respect teams that have earned it.
And listen, sports gambling is now legal in Michigan. You are a betting man by nature, so we trust your advice when you feel something. When you have a gut reaction to something, we trust you. You almost pulled off the impossible. The to-the-moon moneyline parlay is something I still think about. I told all my roommates about it. I'm like, guys, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
The worst thing, too, is like the day after, like 6 double-digit underdogs, like all won their games. It's like, why didn't I just do this for a second day in a row? Like, I could be on a yacht in the Caymans right now if we double down on it. But now here I am, still in sunny Metro Detroit, Michigan.
Can I ask you a question? If you were on a yacht in the Cayman and I still reached out to you about coming on this show, would you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, not an
Oh,
issue.
cool. Thanks.
Not an issue.
Good
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. This yacht would
He's a
have
really
Big
good guy.
Ten Network. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, cool. That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, hey, we don't know what the rest of the cable package is, but as long as we have BTN on the yacht, that's
Yeah,
all we need.
yeah. It's all Gucci.
I mean,
Yeah.
this guy, Matt Sheehan, man, one of the co-hosts of Locked On Spartans. We
Good
really
for you, man.
appreciate him. His Locked On lock of the weekend: Ohio State -6, 7, 8 against Indiana. He likes the Buckeyes to win by double digits, depending on what that line is by the time we get to Saturday afternoon. My Locked On lock comes tonight, and we actually know this line. It is provided to us by our good friends at betonline.ag. It is Illinois and Nebraska, the 6th-ranked Fighting Illini on the road in Lincoln. The Illini, a 14.5-point road favorite. The over-under total, 148.5. If you're thinking 14.5 points on the road, yeah, sure, they're a top 10 team. Go back to the stat that I said when we briefly mentioned Nebraska in the discussion of the Wisconsin-Michigan game. Nebraska has not won a game in Big Ten competition for 402 days. They have not won a game since January 7th of 2020. They have lost 25 straight against Big Ten opponents. And Illinois right now is making me feel very, very good about my early year assumption that they would be the team out of the Big Ten Conference best suited to play in the Final Four. They have 4 straight wins, the last of which was in very impressive fashion over Wisconsin this past weekend, winning by 15. Ayo Dosunmu had his first career triple-double. Kofi Coburn added a double-double of 23 points and 14 boards. They almost had the full week off, so they're rested in this home stretch of Big Ten play. Meanwhile, Nebraska, this will be their 4th game tonight in a span of 7 days as they returned from a nearly month-long COVID pause. So Nebraska, shaky as it is, now playing a lot of games, going up against one of the best teams in the Big Ten Conference, one of the best teams currently in college basketball. I know it's 14.5 points, but I got a feeling Illinois might win by 20-plus tonight. And another stat for you in there, Illinois' effective field goal percentage, 8th best in the country at 56.6%, the effective field goal percentage according to KenPom. Nebraska, 45.8 effective field goal percentage. That is 311th. There are 347 teams that have played college basketball this season. So I don't expect Nebraska to score a lot of points. They only scored 48 against Wisconsin. Illinois' defense is starting to ratchet up to another level. They're ranked 12th in defensive efficiency. I think Illinois is playing really good basketball at a really good time. Take them, lay the points. I like Illinois tonight against Nebraska.
Was that 25 straight conference games they've lost? Is that what you said?
Yes. Yes.
Does that sound like a team that is due, perhaps, for a win? Let's go back to the dollar to the moon parlay. That has got to be some serious juice on the Nebraska money line if you're to take him on that.
I would think you might have
maybe they're on a super cold streak. Maybe they're on a 3-month-long cold streak and they're finally going to awake tonight and make it rain. 17 of 19 from behind the arc, baby.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, against the 6th best team in the country. Yeah, I think so. Maybe Fred Hoiberg pulls a rabbit out of his hat. Maybe Teddy Allen starts playing. Lat Main looked really good against Wisconsin. Delano Banton. I'm just referencing guys I know on the Nebraska basketball team. There you go.
Good enough for me.
Yeah. I mean, they've got the Udrago guy. That's a pretty cool last-sounding name, especially for a big man in Big Ten play.
Intimidating. Yeah. You see that last name on the back of a jersey. It's like, stay away from that guy. He's prone to go for 32 points any given night. Yeah.
I think your best bet for the money line to the moon parlay will come up in our next category, the underdog special, because I do really like your underdog for this weekend of Big Ten basketball. Again, speaking with Matt Sheehan, one of the co-hosts of Locked On Spartans, this is our full Big Ten weekend preview. All 7 games across the Big Ten Conference this weekend. All 14 teams in action. No postponements. Nothing. All 14 teams of Big Ten Conference play this weekend. So, Matt Sheehan, your underdog special is what?
Let's talk about being due one more time. Like, can the Northwestern Wildcats really lose 11 games in a row, Ben? Or if they're going to lose, can they at least lose by less than 7 points? Ben, I think they can. They are +7. Assuming against Rutgers. And you know what? Do you like patterns, Ben? Are you a patterns guy?
Love patterns. Triangles, circles, all of it.
Well, let's go to Rutgers' schedule, and let's take away their at Ohio State and home versus Purdue, because that ruins my narrative. I got a narrative here that I'm cooking. Okay.
Fair.
First, to start the season, 6 wins in a row. And then you take out the 2 games I mentioned. Then 5 losses in a row. Then 4 wins in a row. What would happen next, do you think? 3 losses? Do you go from 6 wins, 5 losses, 4 wins, 3 losses? Well, they just lost against Iowa. They're due for another loss. And then they'll win twice and they'll lose once and they'll win once. And that's the end of their season.
And that'll be it.
This is the betting advice that you brought me on the show for. This is why I apologize to everyone. But if it pays off, I look like a genius. If it doesn't, I look like a moron. But hey, you know what? That's the risk we run with gambling talk here. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Wildcats +7, also because they thrashed MSU earlier this year, and I refuse to believe that they just all of a sudden stopped doing that for the rest of the season after their nice 3-game win streak to start Big Ten play.
Both those teams thrashed Michigan State this year, but Michigan State thrashed Rutgers also.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Stuck at nights, that's right.
I have a trivia question for you about this game.
Okay.
Northwestern has now lost 10 straight in Big Ten play in 3 consecutive seasons. Do you know the only other time that has happened since the Big Ten has been around?
No.
Now I actually got to look this up because there was a stat. It was the coach from the University of Chicago in the early 1930s.
Oh, wow.
I believe, let me get his name. Here we go. Pull it up. This is radio, podcasting, talking, thrilling stuff. You're paying attention to all of it. This is bad for Chris Collins, though, right? This is not great for Chris Collins because you have to ask the question, will he be around?
Yeah, I know. That sucks, man. Like you think he's a guy like Pat Fitzgerald with like airtight job security, but here we are. I mean, yeah, that's a valid question to ask at this point. 3, I had no idea it was that bad in Evanston. Oh man.
Yeah. So I asked our resident bracketologist, Kevin Sweeney, on this show, who is a Northwestern student, if he thinks Chris Collins will be gone at the end of this year. He said no, because the AD position in Evanston still needs to be filled, but maybe next year, if it's another bad year for Chris Collins, that the AD will want to make a splash hire for his men's basketball program. Obviously, Pat Fitzgerald is not going anywhere. They just gave him a 10-year extension. So here is the answer to that trivia question. Chris Collins is the second coach in Big Ten history to have a 10-game losing streak in 3 straight seasons. The other coach, Nelson Norgren, in 1934, 35, 35, 36, 36, 37 at the University of Chicago, back when the University of Chicago was a member of the Big Ten Conference. There you go. Take that and put it in your pipe and smoke it.
1934 Twitter would have been at Nelson's throat back in the day. Inexcusable at Chicago State, man.
With all the talent in the Chicago metro area, to lose 10 games of Big Ten play in 3 straight years, Nelson.
Can't have it, Nelson.
RIP, probably.
Figure it out, man.
If not, I mean, Nelson's kicking.
Safe to say, probably. Apologies to the Mr. Nelson family if he's still around. We'd love to have you on. I'm just going to invite guests onto your show here, Ben. So yeah, we'd love to have you on.
Open invitation to Nelson Norgren or any of his kin that want to come on the Locked On Big Ten podcast. That is our guarantee. Here is my guarantee for my underdog special. It is Minnesota on the road at Maryland on Sunday, the nightcap of the Big Ten weekend. Minnesota, a 2-point underdog on the road, over under 138. These are 2 of the most intriguing teams to me in the entire Big Ten Conference when it comes to the NCAA tournament. Minnesota is 12-7 overall, 5-7 in Big Ten play. They are 52nd in the net, but 3 of their Big Ten wins are against Iowa, Ohio State, and Michigan. Those are 3 very quality wins. They also knocked off St. Louis in the non-conference, which could be another quality win in terms of non-con play in the eyes of the selection committee. Maryland is 9-10 when you look at their record against Division I opponents, and that's all that counts for the NCAA tournament. They are 4-9 in the Big Ten Conference, but all 4 of those wins are against Quad 1 opponents. They rank 43rd in the net. You also have 2 teams that one hates to go away from home and one doesn't really love to play at home. Minnesota is winless away from the barn this year. Maryland just 1-4 in College Park in Big Ten play.
Tough.
So could this virtually be a play-in game for the NCAA tournament between 2 teams that are cheating around the bubble from the Big Ten Conference? Possibly. Something's got to give, though, for Minnesota to win at home, to win away from home, I should say. I think that happens this weekend. We are recording before Minnesota and Purdue play on this Thursday night, but I think that game is competitive. I think the Golden Gophers probably lose by like 2 or 3 points to Purdue if I'm putting out my estimation here, but I think it's a good game. I think Marcus Carr has a really good game against the Terps on Sunday night. He has scored in double figures in all but 1 game this year. That was the loss to Purdue 2 weeks ago, but he had 21 points against Nebraska earlier this week in 19 minutes. You don't really see that in college basketball, or 19 points in 21 minutes, one of the 2, but he scored a lot at a very prolific clip. I think Minnesota goes on the road, gets their first win, take them outright, but especially as the underdog against Maryland on Sunday. So 2 of our 3 categories in the books. We also had our Big Ten game of the week. Now our 3rd and final category of your creative choosing for your final pick of this Big Ten weekend. Matt Sheehan, what is the name of the game and what is the result of the game?
Sure. This is the family is concerned / mom, why is dad acting like that lock of the week. I'm going to go with Michigan State +7 here. I was talking with Andrew Wade of Locked On Hawkeyes earlier today, Ben, if you're familiar with his work. We did a little crossover episode. Check it out. on Locked On Hawkeyes or Locked On Spartans. Little plug there. Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot like last game that we saw in Iowa City, where it's going to be a little close down the stretch, maybe one possession game in the final minute, and then some fouls here or there. Why do I have faith in MSU? Well, Ben, it's because I drink green Kool-Aid, and it doesn't matter how many times I've seen this team struggle throughout the year. I'll think that they could just pull something out of their you-know-whats here. So I don't care that Wieskamp is essentially 90% from three in his last 4 games. I don't care that CJ Fredrickson's on fire. I don't care that Luka Garza Luka Garza. Yeah, I'm just going to blindly take MSU +7 because they can't lose every game by a lot, can they? I think it'll be like last game where they just only lose by 6 to Iowa.
Right. I mean, hey, they got a win against Penn State on Tuesday, right? Or was it on Monday?
Convincing? Now I'm just trying to convince myself of them being close. Did I sell that at all or no?
Yeah, for sure. You definitely didn't highlight all the Iowa players that are playing really well at the moment, and didn't even mention a Michigan State player for why this game might break down in the matchups that favor the Spartans. No, you definitely didn't do that. So I feel good about it.
Okay,
7 points. That's a lot.
At home, Iowa's not good at home. Yeah, usually there's 16,000 screaming people there, but I'm sure a few hundred cardboard cutouts are almost the same, right? Right, Ben?
You never know. I mean, good for Michigan State still in the Brez. By the way, your co-host Will Hunter taught me that it's the Brez. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, how cool does that sound, huh? Yeah.
Behind the scorers table, they have all the Final Four trips they've made. I think that's a pretty good flex. That's
it is a good flex. Yeah. So that's going to look really good when we're down 9, in the first 5 minutes of the game. It's going to look good. I'm just so negative. This team is beating me down. It's taking all the joy out of me.
That's fair. I mean, that was a side that really reflected how I think a lot of Michigan State fans have felt this year. What was the name for the game again? The creative name you had?
The family is concerned / mom, why is dad acting like that? Lock of the week. It's MSU +7. Yeah. So
I can say with absolute certainty that's the first time we've ever had that type of game on the Locked On Big Ten podcast. So there we go. Thank you for your. Yeah. Who do we think we could get? I don't know. Actually, I don't want to go down that road. It sounds kind of dark. We're just going to leave it at that.
Rabbit hole we don't want to fall down. Yeah. That takes a dark turn very quickly.
So my final category is the Nebraska again game of the week, because Nebraska is not only just playing tonight against Illinois, they're playing on Sunday as well on the road in State College, taking on Penn State. The Nittany Lions, as Ken Palm sees it, a 12-point home favorite. The over-under total 146. So if tonight is Nebraska's 4th game in 7 days, that means Sunday is Nebraska's 5th game in 9 days. What gives? That's what happens when you return from a COVID pause that was nearly a month long.
Yeah.
It's at 2 p.m. Eastern on Sunday afternoon. The Big Ten game of the week that we highlighted at the beginning of this conversation between Michigan and Wisconsin is at 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS. I don't even know if I'm going to watch Nebraska-Penn State. Listen, I'm Big Ten Ben. I don't even think I'm going to have it on.
Tough sell. Yeah.
I mean, it's a hard one when you have a top 25 matchup and then you have Nebraska and Penn State. The Huskers playing in their 5th game in 9 straight days, and they haven't probably won by that time since January 7th of 2020 and 26 straight losses in Big Ten competition. So I think one of 2 things happens here, right? Either the game experience for Nebraska playing this much, returning from a COVID pause, benefits them, and they find a spark offensively and get some energy, or they're just completely wiped out. So because of that, my pick is the under. Because at 146, I think that's a pretty high total. I don't think Nebraska scores more than 60 or 65 points, even if they start to find a little bit of offensive rhythm. And Penn State, in their last 3 games, has averaged 56 points per game. They have not broken the 60 mark in those 3 games. They scored 58 in the battle against Michigan State earlier in this week. They scored 55 in a win over Maryland last Friday night. Penn State has not been as good offensively as we saw early on in Big Ten play when they returned from their own COVID pause. So one of 2 things happens. Nebraska starts to find a rhythm and starts to put up some points, but still not enough to break like 70, or it's really, really bad and they're still scoring 48, 50 points, and Penn State can't make up the margin to go above that total of 146. So I like the under in the game on Sunday between Penn State and Nebraska. My Nebraska again game of the week, because Nebraska featured 2 times in this full Locked On Big Ten weekend preview. It has been a full one. 7 games of Big Ten competition. All 14 teams in action. We have enjoyed it all thoroughly. Matt Sheehan has not brought the energy that we have expected at times, but it was still fantastic because he's a true representative of the team that he covers in the Michigan State Spartans. He is the co-host of Locked On Spartans with Will Hunter. Will was on the show on Monday. Matt ends out the week on Friday. Matt, I still had a lot of fun. You always make me laugh when we have these podcast recordings, so it's a great time.
I chalk it up to this being my therapy, so I appreciate you, Ben, as always. You're the man.
Do you think you should give Will a copay? Like, should he
absolutely.
be getting a copay?
Absolutely. Yes. Hard yes. Yeah. No gray area around that. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What is the game you feel most confident in this weekend? Is it Ohio State as your locked on lock?
Yeah. I think so.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. And then we also, of course, have the creative category of family is concerned. Mom, why is dad like this? Is this my future as well?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
What did I sign up
Does
for?
everyone act like
Get
this?
me out of here.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like, is this really normal? Yeah.
7 games, 14 Big Ten teams, all of them in action. Matt Sheehan bringing you the goods on this Friday edition, your full weekend preview of the Locked On Big Ten podcast. Matt, I say again, thank you very much.
No, thank you, Ben. This is a great time, as always.